Today, it's pretty unusual for astronauts to spend a long time in outer space. But in the future, we're probably going to want to spend longer and longer amounts of time in space. For example, a trip to the planet Mars and back, that takes longer than a year. And what if we just want to live in outer space? Or travel to faraway planets? We could be in space for a long time. On journeys like that, we might even want to take our pets with us too. How will living in space a long time affect our bodies, let alone those of our pets? Well, as you saw in the activity, when astronauts spend a long time in space, some really strange things start to happen. We saw that when astronaut Scott Kelly spent a year in space, his muscles got weaker, his balance got worse, and he got taller, even though he was an adult and was finished growing. These traits changed while Scott was in space. But why? If we look closely, we'll find that all of these traits have something in common. All of them are traits affected by gravity. For example, consider your muscles. Back on Earth, your muscles are always working against gravity, whether jumping rope, picking up your feet to run, or lifting heavy things off the ground. Gravity is always a force that pulls things down. The more your muscles work against that force, the stronger they get. But in space, there's practically no gravity that your muscles have to work against. You just float around. Life in space is easy. In fact, it's too easy. When your muscles aren't doing any work, they start to shrink and get weaker. And this same thing is true for your bones. Just like your muscles, they get weaker too because they don't have to support your body against the pull of gravity. After a year of taking it easy, the muscles that kept Scott Kelly standing up and walking had gotten very weak. Scott's strength and balance had both gotten worse, as you can see in this video, taken shortly after he returned to the Earth. Scott also got taller in space, even though he was an adult and his body didn't grow anymore. That might seem really weird, but it also has to do with gravity. Scientists have studied the human body and found that in between the bones of your spine, there are squishy pads that act like cushions. On Earth, those squishy pads get squeezed down because of gravity. But when you're in space, it's like your spine is always relaxed and stretched out. There's no gravity to smush those squishy pads like there would be on Earth. So in space, you actually get a little taller. It doesn't last forever. Once you return to Earth, gravity will quickly make you go back to your normal height. So we can see from astronauts like Scott Kelly that traits can change based on the environment you live in and the experiences that you have. Some changes won't hurt you, like getting taller, but other changes, like losing your muscle and bone strength, those can be dangerous for your health. In the future, if we start sending people and even animals to space for a long period of time, we're going to have to solve the problem of how to keep ourselves and our pets healthy. What kinds of things could we do to make sure that our bones and muscles stay strong? Well, astronauts like this astronaut running on a treadmill exercise for 2 to 3 hours every day while they're in space to try not to lose their strength. They have to work out on special equipment, like this treadmill that has a harness to keep them from floating away. It might be tricky to get a dog to go for a run on this thing, and a cat, forget about it. And even with all this exercise, without gravity, astronauts still come back to the Earth weaker than when they left. It may take months or years for them to fully recover, for their traits to go back to normal. Some people have said, if only we could come up with some way to create some kind of artificial gravity in space, then we could avoid these problems. But so far, that's not something anyone has figured out how we could easily do. All of this might seem like a problem for the distant future, but maybe it's something you'll grow up and solve one day. Have fun and stay curious.